This is your math gal, Julie Harland. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where all of my videos are organized by topic. This is example 19 of solving an equation that has a fraction, and we'll be doing this problem on this video. So here we've got 5/3 x plus 1/4 equals 3/4. There's a few ways you might start this problem, but one suggestion I'm going to make is that anytime you have a problem with fractions, especially if there's more than one fraction, you can eliminate the fractions in an equation by multiplying both sides by the least common denominator. So let's look at the denominators. There's a 3, there's a 4, there's a 4. The least common denominator is 12. If you don't know how to get that, you might want to look at my videos on least common multiple or adding fractions. And the unorthodox way I do it to show I'm multiplying all by both sides is I put a bracket around the whole equation and then I just say I'm doing it by 12. Now that means I'm going to distribute the 12 to all the terms on each side of the equation. You don't want to just multiply it on the left-hand side. So let's see, if I do that, I have 12 times the 5/3 x plus 12 times the 1/4 equals, and then I have to remember to also do 12 times 3/4 on the other side of the equal sign. And let's cancel things out here. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 goes into 12 3 times. And over here 4 goes into 12 3 times. So what I really have is 4 times 5x, 20x, plus 3 equals, remember that's 3 times 3 or 9. So I've taken an equation that has 3 fractions, and by multiplying both sides by the least common denominator, I get an equation that has no fractions. And now you proceed the way you normally solve equations of this type. You want to isolate the x, so you're going to subtract 3 from both sides to get the 20x by itself on the left-hand side. That gives me 20x equals 6. And then divide by 20 to find out what x equals. And I'm going to reduce that. That's 6/20, which reduces to 3/10. So that's one method of solving that equation. The more orthodox way you'll see multiplying both sides of the equation by 12 in regular textbooks looks a little bit different. So here it is. If you want to multiply by 12, often books will show it like this. They'll put, I'm going to do 12 times the left-hand side, 5/3 x plus 1/4 equals 12 times the right-hand side. Or you could, of course, just use a times sign, not use parentheses. And then when you do the distributive property, it looks exactly the same as I did it. 12 times 5/3 x plus 12 times 1/4 equals 12 times 3/4. So if it's easier for you to actually write it like that, as opposed to the way I did it, remember how I did it? I put a 12 out here with a bracket, and then I distributed the 12 all the way across. If it makes more sense for you to do it this way, this step here, go ahead. But the next step looks the same anyway. All right, we're all going to have it look like that before we simplify. All right, so what's another way you could also solve this? By not clearing all the fractions first. You could do the traditional method of solving, which would be to just isolate the variables. So don't worry about the fractions and subtract 1/4 from both sides to begin with. So I have 5/3 x equals 2/4. Since I have a common denominator, I can just subtract 3 minus 1 to get the 2. And of course that does reduce, but we could do that later. Or you could have done that in your head and written 1/2. But then how do I figure out what x is? Well, I've got 5/3 times x, so my next step would be to multiply by 3/5 so that those cancel, right? But whatever you multiply on the left side, you have to multiply on the right side. So I will get x equals, and let's see, the 2 and the 4, you could do your canceling now, right? If you didn't do it before, 3/10. So we get 3/10 no matter which method we use. So let's go ahead and check it now. All right, we're going to make sure that 3/10 makes this equation true. So we're going to substitute 3/10 in for x and simplify the left-hand side. Now, remember, when you're simplifying, just doing your order of operations, there's no multiplying both sides of an equation because you don't have an equation. So you're going to have to just use your rules for how you normally add fractions. So what do I have here? I've got 5/3 times 3/10. I can cancel the 3's, right? And I can also cancel the 5 and the 10. And that gives me 1/2 plus 1/4. And now, how do we add two fractions that have different denominators? I need to get a common denominator. So I can that's going to be 4. So I'm going to multiply this first fraction by 2/2 to give me 2/4 plus 1/4. And that's 3/4. So the left side simplifies to 3/4, and the right side is already simplified at 3/4. So this checks. My answer really is x equals 3/10, which of course you could write as 0.3. That's another way of writing 3/10. And if you want to be formal, we put it in braces to show that's the solution. This is your math gal, Julie Harland. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where all of my videos are organized by topic.